Welcome back to JKLIVE here at Citizen Television. We're talking very important issues about the state of our nation with some very religious leaders who are calling it like they see it without fear or favor. Right, Reverend Thegu Mutahi is the presiding bishop at PCEA. Moderator PCEA. Bishop Callisto Odede is the presiding bishop at CITAM. Sheikh Ibrahim Lebthome is a Muslim scholar, and Reverend Jackson Olisapit is the Archbishop of the ACK. Gentlemen, before the break, I was asking you earlier on, let's start with the Archbishop. There's no IEBC. As we know it, it doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Isn't that a shame?
It's not just a shame, but we are putting the country in a very big crisis, because should something happen, you know, and we don't wish anything to happen, no. We have nobody to manage any elections in this country. And we have a number of by-elections that are due. Nobody will be able to handle. And I think we are doing a disservice to the people who need representation either in Parliament or in the various wards that are needing a replacement of the, MCS who are no longer there. So putting the country in such a long period, it's now almost a year. We have no IEBC. And this is very, very detrimental to this country. Yeah. And I think we must be very serious as a nation to make sure that we have a mechanism of fixing things that are of great and devious importance to the nation. And therefore, my urge and my call is that, I know it's one of the talks in the bipartisan discussions, but I wish this thing will be expedited and a very robust, quick process is established where we can be able to have an IBC which can be able to manage the country. This is an institution that is required to look at the boundaries, creation of boundaries of constituencies and all these, electoral position and administrative positions. And if we don't have an IBC that is going to manage that, we are in a very big mess.
Yeah, and Sheikh, every 5 years, it boils down to the IBC.
Yes.
And IBC is the one that, any way you look at it, it's the source of a lot of the issues that come with post-election.
Jeff, this is the kind of problems we create for ourselves when we politicize everything. That is the problem that we have as a country. IBC as an institution is supposed to be very independent, above politics and the rest. But unfortunately, even that institution that is entrusted with that very important role of midwifing our elections is politicized. And we are quoting a crisis, Jeff, a constitutional crisis. And you know what it reminds me? Do you remember that time when we stayed for quite some time without a vice president?
Yeah.
We were quoting a crisis. If anything had happened at that time, you can imagine the kind of crisis we would find ourselves in. And that is the same thing that we are doing today. I'm just wondering, even as we sit down here to talk about it, do the politicians realize that this is a matter that should be given top priority? Actually, it should be prioritized. And it should not be about what kind of people do I want to see there. The right people to run that commission. The interest of the country should be put first. But now when you listen to the talks, Jeff, you hear people pull each one, in Kiswahili wanasema, mwamba ngoma anavutia kwake. Each one of them is just thinking about how best can I benefit from the next commission. Not the country first. And this is the problem that we have. So I want, again, to join the Archbishop in what he said. We call upon the leadership of the country, the political leadership of this country, for God's sake, put country first. Look at the areas that are of priority. Institutions that we need like yesterday, let them be put in place. We can't afford to wait. Anything can happen, and we need that body in place. As it is now, we don't have a commission. Yeah.
Bishop, can we ever get that IEBC right? Because every 5 years, we come back to the same thing. And they said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Yes. Can we ever get it right?
In the current discussion that they're having, I do think one of the things that has come up is should there be some kind of a change, whether the chairman becomes executive, whether in terms of recruitment, should it be a lawyer, should it be a non-lawyer? Now, all these are because while the president's party had started the initiative, the other side disagreed with an initiative and disowned it. Mm-hmm. If they went ahead and the commission, the team that is recruiting, went ahead and recruited the various commissioners, then it would be rejected by one side of the country. So there is a sense in which further consultation was necessary, but the delay is not necessary. I think the delay is putting the country in a very difficult situation. Will we ever get it right? We can only get it right if the IEBC is allowed to be an independent organ that does not, is not being manipulated. And if we have such an organ that can deliver an election for us, because no one is actually manipulating it, whether one side of the politics or the government. But if there is a feeling that one side is the one who have appointed the IBC chair or commissioners, then, as they say, whoever pays the piper
calls the tune.
Calls the tune.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Right, Reverend, do you agree? I see you smiling there.
Yes, I do agree. One, I have to concur with my colleagues that this is a very unfortunate situation in the country where we do not have our functional electoral body. Yet we have very good laws. We give ourselves a new constitution, and we thought now everything will be good. But after we have had that constitution, we have started reconfiguring an electoral body, and each time we don't get it right. Of course, we also do not give them the commissioner space to do their work, because if we are going to recruit from Kenya, then we shall have the same challenges we have had. Therefore, we need one to let IBC be independent. You know, there are people who say that in some cases, the I is silent. It's no longer independent. It's just an organ there for us to manipulate. On the other hand, we also have to develop our levels of trust. Because even in the developed dispensations, it's not that always the elections go right. But it gets to a point where people say, well, there'll be another election next time. Therefore, if we configure a very independent body, and we have people who love their country and who go there not with partisan interests. They only want to deliver a credible election, an election that will, when tested, will be found to be good. I think that will be the direction that we need to take. Therefore, for all of us who are stakeholders in these matters, we need to do our part. The political parties, let them come together. Let not one party try to come up with an IBC, because it will cause mistrust even before ballots are opened. On the other hand, those Kenyans, men and women, who have been given a privilege to run elections in Kenya, to manage elections in Kenya, they must realize that that is a very unique responsibility that has been bestowed upon them. And therefore, they should execute it with honor, aware that generations to come, people will read about them. They will write about them, that this was a body that managed the elections in our country. Therefore, we hope that after the closure of the talks at Bomas, the priority number one for the bipartisan group is to come up with an IBC. Because one, there is the delimitation of boundaries. It has a timeline. In fact, we don't see us getting it light by, I think, March 2024. And therefore, we will need to go to courts and get some advisory as to what should be done in case we get delayed. Therefore, let's not go this path again. Let's say once we get an IBC, the men and women we give that responsibility will be men of honor, will be men who are noble, and they will not disappoint us. And again, the political players, let them realize that we are not getting perfect people. We can allow them some space of making mistakes, not mistakes that are grievous, but again, if we put too much expectation on IBC, forgetting that, you know, elections are not just about IBC. They're about political parties, they're about candidates, they're about voters. All of us have a role. And if we come together, we'll get it right this time, I believe.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, it's interesting you mentioned developed countries and mature democracies. Just yesterday, 24 hours ago, in the US, the Speaker of the House, I think the third most powerful man in the House, was voted out. And he walked away. Would that ever happen here?
Of course not.
Well, the tribe would defend him.
Not in
His tribe would defend him.
any foreseeable future.
Yeah, without ethnic clashes happening, correct?
Yes, yes.
Correct.
Yes. I don't think it is visible in this part of the world because, you know, we believe in if I'm in a position, I'm there to stay until either my term ends. And even we are beginning to hear people wanting to extend. So to the African mind, I'm here to stay. But it doesn't matter what is mentioned about me, but I think in mature democracies, but I think it is part of the culture that has been developed over the years, that if somebody is voted out, they have no other business there but to go. Or, you know, we have had in those democracies that if somebody is even mentioned of a wrongdoing in an office, misuse of an office, they step aside willingly so that investigation are done. And when that person is found culpable, then they are charged. If they are set free, they come back. So that in Africa, that is something that it is not easy.
Not in our lifetime.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You remember, Jeff?
But it has happened previously.
Me resign, I better die. Do you remember that?
I would rather die than resign.
Yeah,
Kimunya.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to mention. You mentioned. I didn't mention the name. Yeah, I think, you know, Jeff, also there has to be some element of goodwill, because we're not going to get robots. I don't know whether technology has developed to the extent now that we can get robots and put them there so that they don't belong to an ethnic community. They do not have party affiliation. I think we need to go as per the law. And now the importance of the law. The reason why we have the law is that, Jeff, you drive on the left because the law says keep left. But if it was left to me, I would say I want to keep right. And somebody might want to drive in the middle of the road. So the importance of having the law. As I was studying law, somebody said, a society that does not respect the law, then they end up being like the devil's workshop. Don't ask me how it looks like. I don't know. I've not been there. But chaos. Yeah. So what we need to do is just look at the law. Reverend, here you said, moderator, the laws are very good, but we don't apply them. The law is very clear. The process of putting in place a commission like that commission is very clear. We just follow the law. Once the commission is in place, forget about where that person belongs to. Give them the benefit of doubt. Let them operate within the law. Unfortunately, the problem is interference. There will be interference here and there. And that's why in Naskia, you see people uprooting railway lines and making history as the only people in this world who have ever uprooted a railway line using our hands. It's because we've lost trust, and we do not trust our institutions. So there has to be that element of we've done our due diligence, we've followed the law, this institution is supposed to be independent. Let us allow the institution do its work. Okay, that is the problem that we have, because where are we going? Can we import people from outside to come and do our elections? Do we have countries that have electoral bodies that they believe in? Of course we have. Why not we Kenyans? Come on, Jeff.
I like the idea of an AI president, though.
No?
Artificial intelligence.
Yes. Some robots to manage our
tribeless.
Yes. Or tribeless person.
You know, they are now developing machines that are able to generate their own ideas. That's the next level.
Good Lord.
So that, you know, the computer can be programmed, that it can generate its own ideas.
But somebody will be programming it, so that person will interfere with the programming.
So it will replace me one day.
Yeah, it will take, take up your place. It will take up your place.
All right, let's come back to Bomas and the standard cost of living. We've been talking about this, right? We said we're going to address this. Do you think, right, Reverend, do you think Bomas addressed the standard of living enough? Did they address it enough?
One, they didn't have adequate time to do it, and the presentations were made were very brief. I don't think they really got it right. but I would not fault them. It's because they didn't have the time to maybe engage with all stakeholders to know where the problem is. Because I guess Parliament and the political class may not actually know where the shoe pinches. We needed more people who are now the consumers of the laws that have been made in Kenya, the people who purchase goods, to actually speak and say the pain that they are going through. But I hope in the course of time, we'll be able now to look at what is really affecting our economy. Because one, I think the whole issue of taxation has brought a heavy burden on our people. And, issues like VAT and the effects they have had on fuel. And those were not issues I felt like they were talked about in a very big way in the Bombers meeting. Therefore, maybe what we need to do is listen more to the consumers. What are they going through day to day? How many families are starving? How many people can't take their children to school? How many people are unwell and they can't access medical care because of the cost of medication? How many people have been thrown out by their landlords or landladies because they can't afford rent? These people are in very big numbers. You just do a survey, though not scientific, about businesses that have closed down. People who had businesses last year, now they no longer have anything to sell. They can't restock because they have run out of cash. They have run out of capital. So these are issues that are very near, but it appears sometimes they are very distant from the leaders, and therefore they need to come to the people and realize that it is really painful. It is really affecting people, particularly when you go to church and see the kind of misery that people narrate to you. I'm sure it's the same case in our mosque.
Oh, yes.
When people come for worship, they come and they expect that you send them away with some food because they haven't had a meal or they hadn't had any good meal. And then the many children that are brought to you that have not gone to school, these cases are quite many. And that tells you that it's not doing well. I have seen even surveys that are talking about, low consumption of fuel because the cost went too high. And we, of course, know that when the cost of fuel goes high, it affects everything. Everything goes up, and therefore we need to be very candid in our addressing the issue of cost of living. Right now, I don't see anybody who has really addressed it as it should, because government has only talked about fertilizer. The fertilizer is one small aspect, much as it will be useful, but it may not cut across in the needs of the people. We need to realize that there are people who live in urban areas, and those are the places where, people really feel the cost of living. Absolutely. How can we help them? How can we alleviate their challenge? Yeah. This is an issue we need to address.
Bishop, do you agree?
Thank you. I think that's very well put by my colleague here, the moderator. It's actually true that the Bombers group was divided even whether the cost of living should be an agenda item from the very beginning, because some sections felt it should not be included as an agenda item. Yeah. So coming already to the table with that feeling that the cost of living is a pressure that is being put on us in order to discuss it, they generally would not give it as much attention as they would have if it was pinching them. Now, having said that, we also need to look at the fact that there are international issues that may have brought us where we are at today, pressure from around the world. But at the same time, there are local issues, the taxation, the debt that the country owes, the runaway dollar that is climbing again, the Kenya shilling climbing against the dollar. Now, all these are pressures that are coming on the country in terms of importation, but the taxation is such that what you take away at the end of the month has severely been reduced, especially if you are a salaried individual. Now, these are things that our government can do something about. And yet, instead of doing something about it, there is a talk of increasing taxation. So Bombers didn't address that at all. they didn't come out strongly. Individuals did present. I liked what a Federation of Kenya Employers presented. They talked very clearly about reducing the taxation. But in the final end, unless there is a documentation that is made legal, that goes through Parliament, and finally it is passed as a bill or a law that will actually reduce tax, maybe we are putting too much hopes on the talks at Bomas.
I agree.
Maybe.
I agree. Sheikh,
Yes.
And yet Kenyans are so subdued. Very few people are speaking out against all this taxation, all this lack of money, all this, the high cost of living.
And you know why, Jeff, that is so? It's because even if I talk, even if I go out there, nobody is listening to me. I think Kenyans are at the verge of almost giving up on their leaders. Now, talking about the Bomas process, I think we need to be very candid and very honest with ourselves. Is it because of the cost of living that those politicians decided to go and sit there? Jeff, if you ask me, I'll tell you no. For them, they had other priorities. Political interest. Yeah. That was the priority. And even look at the kind of presentations that have generated a lot of heat. It's not about food and the cost of living. Those were received very passively, very quietly. I went there myself. We went there to present a document on the two-third gender rule in the Constitution. But look at, towards the end of their sittings, the kind of heat that was generated. What are the issues that generated a lot of heat? It's about the elections, yes, political issues. These are the ones that are generating a lot of heat. And that tells us as Kenyans that this is their priority. So you're right, Reverend. I think we are putting a lot of hope in this political, because for me, this is a very political process. I don't think it's going to bear fruit. Again, the people at the top, are they very sincere? Do they know the plight of Kenyans? Jeff, I would understand when somebody tells me, give me time, I'm putting in place measures to make sure that this goes down. But then when you people in media bring us information about how much has been spent on foreign travel, some people are dying down there, and then you're telling us the billions that have been used on external travels. Yet the Kenyans down there, they don't see what they are getting in return. Corruption. We hear corruption right, left, and center. What measures are being taken? Because those are areas through which we are losing money. Money that could have been directed towards elevating the suffering of the people. So I think we lack sincerity. We don't care. I don't know whether the politicians at the top there, they even know the price of unga. Because anyway, when did they last go to a shop or a supermarket to buy that? Yeah. They just find food in their store and the rest. So I think we lack people who have the interest of the people at heart. So am I saying that we give up? No, we can't give up. And I keep on saying, Jeff, this country does not belong to the politicians. I think we have surrendered a lot of our destiny into the hands of the politicians. I think as Kenyans, we need to decide what to do. And for me, where we need to begin, this cycle will end. It's 1 year now. They have 2 years because we know electioneering begins very early. I think as Kenyans, we need to make a decision now. And for me, I'm determined now to use the mosque. We use the pulpit, we use the church and religious institution to re-educate Kenyans. Look at what you're going through because of the leaders you put in place. Can we as Kenyans for once say, enough is enough? Jeff, we put you in place. If we test you and find that you have the interest of the people at heart, not because of the handouts that you're giving out, because that is another problem. If I feel that I am entitled to that position because I used my money to bribe people, get voted in, it's my time now to eat. That's why some people are even talking about shareholders. Sorry to say that. It's a problem.
And if you're not a shareholder,
yes,
back of the line. Archbishop, when did we lose our humanity?
I think we have lost our humanity when we began, associating politics with wealth, creation, or amassing. Let me use the word amassing wealth. So that whoever is at the helm, you are in charge of not just a country management, but also in charge of resources and allocation. You are the one who determine, who access and who doesn't access. And when we began to look at, management of a nation from that perspective, that I am in charge, and I'm the one to say how these resources are accessed by, whoever need to access them, then that gives me power. And that power I can now use to create, a buffer zone around myself. And those who are let in and those who are let out. And I think from that point of view, when we begin to see our political arrangement is not for proper governance, but it is for personal gain and for, gaining political power to be able to determine who access and who doesn't access in distribution of national resources. That's when we lost our soul, because when we put resources, and in particular money, before everything else, then I don't see people. I see those resources. And it doesn't matter whether I will trample on them, whether I will, get them out of the way by whatever means, for me to keep it there and make it mine. That's the problem. And we lost a lot of, since independence. Yeah. See how this country, who divided Kenya after the colonialists? Mm-hmm. Who got the large shares of farms? How are those farms subdivided, and who access them? It is a very elite, the politicians and those who are elite of the day. And we brought that, down the edges, and we made it a way that, this group which have been leading are the ones who have been able to get this. Now, when I come and dislodge them, that's why we create the narrative, it is our time to eat. Mm-hmm. Not our time to create, not our time to manage, not our time to grow, not our time to make this country great, our time to eat. Yeah. And we lost our soul. And, we began to talk about narratives that normalize wrongdoing, make it as very normal. Nowadays, it is even normal to, even during campaign times, we used to hear people say, if so-and-so is said to be corrupt, the region that support that person say, hata kama ni corrupt, he's our person. Wajia sisi
mwizi wetu. Au mwizi wetu.
Yes. So that, we have created that narrative, and it becomes normal. And it becomes even, not just normal, heroism.
Yeah.
So that if I'm put in a position today and I did not amass, then I'm useless. Even in the eyes of the people who follow me, they will say, you have been there and you got nothing out of it. You have been there and you did not bring anything home. Without pressure, that people have normalized it, so that even the pressure to get is not even from within. People are pushing you to get, not only for you, but to the small clique that's around you. We lost our soul it is generational. And I think since independence, we began losing this soul, and now we are losing even bigger. Yeah.
I hope we can regain that soul sometime soon. Gentlemen, I want to take a quick break, come back, talk about, should there be an official office of the official opposition? Should there be an office like that? Also, cost-cutting measures in government. President directing ministers, hey, let's reduce by 10%.
Yes.
And also foreign travel.
Yes. And those huge delegations.
Yes,
how many people do I need to accompany me out of the country?
Correct. Yes. Been cut down to 3 and I think 7 days maximum.
Yes.
That's not bad. And deploying our policemen to Haiti.
Yes, we need to discuss that.
Gentlemen.
People are dying in Sondu, and you want to take care of Haiti?
Yes.
Bring it.
Peace at home. Peace.
Bring it on.
Yes.
I love the conversation. Are you guys enjoying it? I hope you are, because these religious leaders are calling it like they see it. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. We'll be back. And also on the magic wall, get your reactions when we're back. Back in a moment.